in the present tense. Maken melodie, instead of just make melody. Slapen al de nacht, sleep all the night. Longen folk to gun, folk long to go. Now, some of the reasons for this, you can use the E or the EN ending there. Some of the reasons are to make up the meter. And again, there is metrical evidence is one of the key means we have in order to discover how certain words were pronounced and used. So that you could have sleep or the nicht, but that might mess up the meter, and I'll come back to meter in a bit. As we know, third person present indicative ends in eth, pricketh, whereas when we looked at some of the northern texts, such as Garwin in the Green Knight, it ends in es or ez. It uses that Old Norse influenced they, but then uses the Old English here for there and hem for them, except again in the Reeve's Tale, where you see Chaucer seems to think that the Old Norse usage is something that is specific to the North and to the Northern dialect. And finally, the infinitive uses to and for to. So to gon, to go, and for to seken, or to seek, or just to seek on its own. And finally, as mentioned at the bottom, the meter affects usage. I mean, have a look at that. In terms of the difference between poetic and ordinary language, it's one of the most significant differences is this use of the final E. We mentioned this on Monday, the use of the schwa, where you sound it smaller. Now, in certain sentences, you can have two words ending in E in the poetic sense, where one will be sounded and one won't. And the reason, again, is because of the meter, and I'll show you this. Now, if you look at the terms which are in bold, they are words which could receive the sonant final E, that sounded final E, the schwa, whereas the ones which do receive that are only those which end, which have the underlined E there. And luckily, to hear this bit, I've got a CD. Except that I've not put the pen down properly. I'll turn it up, see if it's loud enough.
Fire was this younger weave, and therewithal was any wazel her body gent and small. A sight she wearied, barred all of silk, a barn cloth eke as wheat as morn o' milk, upon her lenses, full of many a gold. Wheat was her smock, and broiden all before her, and eke behind, on her collar a booty, of coal black silk, within and eke without. The tartars of her wheat volupere were of the same suit of her collar, her fillet broad of silk, and set full ear, and sickerly she had a liquorous ear, full smally pulled where her brewers twa, and though were bent and black as any sloe, she was full more blissful unto say than is the newer pair of jonnet tray, and softer than the wallies of a weather. And the her girdle hang a purse of leather, tasselled with silk and pearled with latoon. In all this world, to seek an up and down, there nis no man so wise that could have fed she so gay a popinot or switch a wench. Full richter was the sheening of her hue than in the tour the nobly forging knew. But of her song it was as lewd and yearn as any swallow sitting on a bairn. Thereto she could a skip and mark a dame, as any kid or calf following his dame. Her mouth was sweet as braggot or the maith, or hoard of apples lied in higher heath. Wincing she was as is a jolly coat, long as a mast and upright as a boat. A broad she bar upon her low collar, as broad as is the boss of a buckler. Her shoes were lasted on her leggings here. She was a primer all, a piggus knee, for any lord to legend in his bed, or yet for any good yeoman to wed. No, sir, Bernadette.
Carry on there, obviously we'd be here all day if we listened to the whole thing. But should be able to see that, again, because of those words which are in bold and those which have the E on the end, that some of them are pronounced, some of them are not. So werid doesn't get the werede. Behinde does not have behinde. Whereas usually we're expected in Middle English to pronounce every letter. We're used to there being no silent letters. So Chaucer here perhaps is contributing to the dropping off of that final E. And of course we're right up on the border of the great vowel shift. So you can see how small things like this, just using meter to drop certain vowels, to elide vowels, can affect the whole sort of course of the language. So many of the words which don't have that sonant final E precede a vowel. So again, when you get to look at this yourself, when you download it, you can see the word behind, within, suit, hard, small, wall, popolot, novel, lewd, skip, kid, sweat, primarol, which usually we'd be used to pronouncing behind, within, suite, harder, and so on. The E is elided because you've got two vowels together. Again, if you are used to continental languages, you'll be familiar with this. If it's coming before another vowel, you drop that vowel. So the E is cut out. It was in that quotation from the Roman, na, where the E has been dropped and it goes straight to the next vowel. So you've got that working in Chaucer's English. It's also seen in Italian, where it has an actual name for that kind of elision, which is sinalefe, where you drop a vowel in order to put things together. But another reason for not sounding that E in Chaucer is metrical demand, or metrical necessity. Now, Chaucer introduced iambic pentameter to English poetry, which, do we know what iambic pentameter is? Are we happy with what it is? If you're not, say right now, and I'll just give a brief exposition. Any queries? No. Okay, good stuff. Iambic pentameter is a line of poetry. It has 10 syllables in the line. Every other syllable in that line is stressed or emphasized. So you have an unstressed syllable, as in the word today, followed by a stressed syllable, as in the day part in today. So to, unstressed, day, stressed. And you have 5 of those. So for example, today I went to the pub and had a drink. Every other syllable is stressed. And Chaucer takes this, he invents it, but he's influenced by French and Italian forms. And in order to keep that rhythm in the line, unstressed syllable, stressed syllable, unstressed syllable, stressed syllable, he has to drop off certain vowels. So, in the line that we just saw, one of them, a saint she weared barred all of silk. Now, if that was pronounced weared with an extra syllable, it would mess up the rhythm. So that just gets dropped. So, a saint she weared barred all of silk. Rather than a saint she weared barred all of silk, because that would be 11 syllables. So, again, you can see how the language of poetry, as it works its way in, starts to affect English language overall, as those E's gradually drop off around the 1400s. Again, words have variant pronunciations, and because of this, Chaucer can use them as and when he needs them in order to facilitate metrical stress. Again, if he's writing in iambic pentameter and you need the stress to fall in certain positions in the line, on the 2nd, the 4th, the 6th, the 8th, and the 10th syllable, then you're going to have to change the words you use. For example, if you want, you could use the weak declension when using the word weep. The past tense, you have wept, 1 syllable. But if you need to make up 2 syllables, then you can use the strong declension, woppen, and that can help your line. Do we need to go back on any of that? Is it okay? You'll see you can draw the stress on the actual lines of the poems themselves. it's reason for iambic pentathlon being that way. It's meant to be the poetical meter, which is most akin to breathing, according to Aristotle. But then he said lots of odd things. Essentially, Chaucer uses these varying pronunciations to his advantage, to metrical necessity.